What's up YouTube, NCG here, bringing you, as you can see before you, a Toon deck. So, the most expensive card in this deck, Toon Kingdom, actually got a reprint, which is very nice for all of us budget players, within reason. Because it was a short print, believe it or not, it's still quite as hard to get, but it's still easier to get than the secret version. So what I've done is I've kind of put the deck together for you guys, put in a nice little tech of my choice, and I'm going to take you through it and show you what they can now do, and the build we now have. So, let's start off with the monsters. I personally like to play triple Toon while Sorcerer. This is your search power. Obviously, yes, the biggest downside is he is only 900 attack, but being able to chip away at your opponent and then draw a card is very useful. The only way that you kind of need to combo off this one is to put him into attack mode to save your life points. You kind of do have to have back row or additional Toon monsters or other cards to be able to protect him. Otherwise, you're just going to be going in there, attacking, drawing, but then being open for a world of pain. Next up we play 2 Toon Dark Magician, one of the best Toon cards as a monster in the deck, because when he's on the board you special summon 1 Toon monster from your deck except himself, and then you can add 1 Toon spell or trap card from your deck, so he's another searcher for your Toon Kingdom, or of course your Toon table of contents for a bit more depth in. We'll then play double Toon Red Eyes. Now obviously these two combo off very nicely. The second you get one of them on board, you can then get the second one on board. So you would get like Dark Magician go into Red Eyes, or you go Red Eyes into Toon Dark Magician. And to help us get into the Red Eyes, we do play the 1 Blackstone of Legend. Because once we get one of these on board, like I said, you then start comboing off between the two of them and go that way. Obviously the best combo would be Red Eyes into Dark Magician, and then Dark Magician can then get another one on board, or can get a spell trap that you might need. We'll then play double Toon Cyber Dragon. This is just to give you that, you know, if you end up going second, it gives you that extra boost of getting another Toon monster on board. Ideally, you want to be going first because your monsters have summoning sickness anyway, so you want to be able to get them on board as soon as you possibly can, and combo them off nicely with, of course, Toon Kingdom for the protection, and move it forward that way. We'll then play a couple of one-offs. So we've got the 1 Toon Gemini Elf, just so we have additional normal summons, Toon Mermaid for the special summon, and then the overlay in order to kind of extend plays that way. The 1 Toon Dark Magician Girl as another alternative off of Toon Mask. You don't have to play her, but it does obviously give you another target for your Dark Magician as well, or of course your Toon Red Eye should you need it. We then play the non-Toon monsters of 1 Blackstone Legend, and me personally, I like to tech out 3 Eater of Millions. So obviously the Eater of Millions can't be tributed, but it's still a very powerful card for your opponent to try and deal with, and the fact that you don't rely on your extra deck that heavily gives you a bit more freedom when it does come to Eater of Millions. Now this can be taken out for anything you kind of want. It can be a hand trap version, and kind of move it that way. So again, Eater of Millions comes down to personal preference and choice. So that's it for the monster lineup. Quite straightforward and simple on those with the 2 monsters. And then of course with the spells you've got, oh, take the camera out, triple Toon Kingdom. This is obviously the Protect the Castle deck. You need to have this guy, which is why we play triple Toon Kingdom, triple Terraforming, and triple Toon Table of Contents. And obviously Toon Table of Contents can search you any Toon card that you need. If you've already got a Toon Kingdom, you can search a second one for a bit more protection so your opponent then has to worry about it a bit more. Or you search out any Toon card that you might need. We're going to play triple Pot of Duality. Now, you can cut this out if you wanted to, and if you cut this out, you can put in stuff like Upstart or Pot of Desires, just to give you a bit more draw power back. Especially when you're playing Eater of Millions as well, you could put a Law of Darkness in there, because you do play a good handful of Dark monsters in like Masked Sorcerer, Dark Magician, Red Eyes, Dark Magician Girl, Blackstone of Legend, and of course Eater of Millions. So it gives you a couple of options should you want to take these out for something else. We then play double Comic Hand, which is a very nice kind of mind control for Toons, but you specifically have to control Toon World. So if you wanted to, you could take these out. But what's best about Comic Hand is if you can bait your opponent out. If like, your opponent has a Masterpiece that's not immune to spells, or a Buster Dragon, if you can bait that out, and then use Comic Hand on them, you can steal their Buster Dragon, turn it into a Toon so it can attack directly, and then of course start using their effects on them, and it's a very nice kind of snatch steal without a huge cost to deal with it. You've then got the 1 Mimic Cat, which is kind of like the Monster Reborn for Toon specifically, but it also can steal your opponent's spells as well, and give you that extra hand should you need it. Of course, we've played the one Soul Charge. Soul Charge can actually be very, very important for you in this deck, because you have the ability to protect your Toon monsters. Should you be later game, you could Soul Charge, bring your monsters all back, and then sit and protect them nice and easily. And then finally on the spells, the one Monster Reborn, because it's staple in pretty much every deck out there today. Now onto the traps. I like to play triple Torrential Tribute, purely because you can protect your own Toon monsters. If you have Toon Kingdom on the board, you can protect them, obviously by paying the banish cost. Torrential Tribute is still a very, very good kind of card, because it can catch your opponent out and deal, you know, really, really disrupt them. They might not consider it or think about it, and whether you activate it during your turn or during your opponent's turn, I mean, if you activate it during your turn as well, that can really, really stump your opponent, especially if you're going to be able to protect them with Toon Kingdom. So it does give you a couple of options to play around with, and give you a variety of destruction and board wipe should you need it. And that again protects your Toon Sorcerer, and then you can get additional draws next turn. Triple Storm Mirror Force. Quaking was obviously the nuts in this deck because you flipped everything face down, and then you start poking away directly. But with Storm and Mirror Force, it's probably the next best thing because it hits link monsters. You could still play Quaking should you wish, because Quaking's not dead. It's just, you know, if your opponent's going to be flapping out a hell of a lot of link monsters, it's not going to be as effective or as productive as Storming. And then I like to play Toon Briefcase. I really, really like this card because, you know, as long as you control a Toon monster, you get to shuffle the monster or monsters back into the deck. So it's non-targeting, and when your opponent summons a monster, you just shuffle everything back into the deck. So it's a very, very nice card. And then the one Toon Mask lets you have a 1-for-1 kind of thing. If you control Toon Mode, you target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and then special summon a Toon monster from your hand or deck with levels less than or equal to the level of rank of that monster. So with Astrograph floating around, you can get your Dark Magician, your Red Eyes, and then of course you can work down from there to get whatever you need. So as long as you're not targeting like a level 3 with it, which you ideally wouldn't do, you can pretty much get access to anything in your deck of level 4 or higher. Now onto the extra deck. Now, obviously, like I said, we play Eater of Millions, so the extra deck isn't as staple as it needs to be. There are, you know, you could put Reaper targets in here if you want. If you wanted to put Reaper and Allure in the deck and give you an option that way. But you kind of play a standard rank 4 lineup of like Castell. Number 82 Heartland Draker can win you games because your field spell is so important. Your Utopia package, very straightforward on that one. The one number 41 Baguska. The one Tornado Dragon, and then I like this one, I'm trying it out right now, is the Performance Trapeze Magician, because the level 4s that you use to make your plays, apart from your Toon Mermaid, are obviously spellcasters. So your Toon Gemini Elf and of course your Toon Masked Sorcerer are spellcasters, so you can actually make Trapeze Magician. And then if you use his effect on a Toon monster while you've got Toon Kingdom, you can attack with that and then use Toon Kingdom to protect your monsters, if I'm not mistaken, because Toon Kingdom literally just states, let me get it quoted, if a Toon monster or monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish one card from the top of your deck face down for each of those monsters instead. So if you're able to protect it from your own Torrential Tribute, your Dark Holes, your stuff like that, you should be able to protect it from Trapeze. So let's say you give this to your Dark Magician, your Dark Magician gets to attack twice, and then Perform Mage is going in as well. That's 7.5. And then you can protect your Dark Magician, and then, you know, you've got a nice little link and loop going there. We'll then play 3 rank 7s. These are probably the most powerful rank 7s in the game, in my personal opinion, or the most useful ones in the game. Obviously, Big Eye to steal link monsters and extend your plays that way. Red Eyes Flare to burn your opponent out should you need to. And then Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, because you make this guy, then you link off with him, and then that in turn allows you to get a Vortex going. But the Vortex is mainly there for the bounce. Because you don't play Pendulum monsters, you're not going to be able to have the shuffle back effect as much. So you can, if you wanted to, play another Odd Eyes monster to get you going. These are just a little choice to trial out. You don't have to. But being able to get a 3k Defender and a Bouncer on board is very, very useful. To help you kind of protect, to you know, wipe your opponent's board, clear your opponent's board off and go in for a bit more damage. And obviously Odd Eyes can still then protect in general, as like a bigger beta or a bigger level Utopia, should you need to. If you don't want to play these guys, again, you can play in like Reaper targets, or you can play in other rank 4s, or maybe other link monsters Like I said, it's not imperative to play this. It just helps, like, you know, if you've got 2 level 7s on board, your 2 Toon monsters, link them or overlay them into Absolute, then link Absolute into, let's say, like an Underclock Taker. Your Underclock Taker then gives you a Vortex down here, and then you're kind of good to go. You can then use any other 2 monsters you've got, use Underclock, push forward, and it can help extend your boards a little bit more. So moving on to the link monsters, we play the 1 Underclock Taker, and you can, of course, play Deco Talker, but we've played the 1 Proxy Dragon, and then finally the 1 Topological Bomber Dragon, because again, in the same instance with your Torrential Tribute and of course your Perform Mage Trapeze Magician, your Topological Bomber Dragon can protect, or your Toon Kingdom can protect your Toon monsters. So if you have the ability to, you know, special summon a Toon monster to one of these zones, like using your Dark Magician effect or using your Red Eyes effect, nuke the board, your opponent's in like in a bit of a trouble. And if you play like Call of the Haunted, or if you want to play you know, any kind of traps during your opponent's turn that can use and abuse Topology a bit more, again, it gives you that bit more power and sensibility. So again, the Toon deck kind of comes down to personal preference. You can change these how you wish. This is just more of a kind of a gimmicky build, in the sense that it can sustain against certain boss decks. If your opponent doesn't have an out to Toon Kingdom straight away, and you have outs to all of their like abilities to try and destroy that or get rid of it, then Toons can actually be a very, very annoying deck, because they can literally just sit on a monster, continue to either draw cards or use and abuse their effects while just poking away your life points directly. So that's a very, very nice kind of way of going about it. Another card that you can check out in here is stuff like Swords of Revealing Light. Very, very old school kind of cards. Not staples, they're just options depending on what kind of angle you want to take on Toons, if you want to have fun with it, or if you want to try and make them as competitive as possible. Regardless, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Until Tuesday, guys. See ya.